Pokemon, or Pocket Monsters, was introduced in 1996 as a Game Boy game based on the creator's childhood hobby of collecting insects. The game has spawned an entire franchise of monster collecting that has been a mainstay in the gaming world since 1998. It's so big, even my grandparents, who probably have never played a video game before, except maybe a Pac Man, which I would doubt, they knew who Pikachu was in the late 90s. This thing is massive. The games within the Pokemon series fall into multiple types. The main series, or core games, being a formulaic RPG story. There are remakes of these games, which range from reimagining of them, like the Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu remake of Pokemon Yellow, to near one-for-one remakes, like the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl ones that came out recently. And then there's just general spin-off games, including puzzle games, fighting games, digital pet games, mobile games. Pretty much everything that's just not a core RPG falls into this. Of all the media franchises, Pokemon is the highest earning by a pretty large margin. And among video games franchises, it's the third best-selling video game franchise of all time, behind only Mario and Tetris. I mean, heck, look, the mobile game Pokemon Go grossed $6 billion in 2020. It's safe to say this franchise can sell anything right now. With a franchise this huge, we expect a certain type of game. But with a few exceptions, I just kind of feel like I've been let down lately by the franchise of Pokemon. Not only that, I feel overwhelmed by it. I mean, the last core game release was 2019, Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is a year after the Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee. But in the last year, aside from the main series games, we had new Pokemon Snap in April of 2021. Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl came out in November of 2021. Before I even finished that game, Legends Arceus came out in January of 2022. And that game sucked me in, and I forgot about everything that came before it. And then, on top of that, besides the main games on Switch, we had Pokemon Unite come out on Switch in July of 2021. Pokemon Go has been pumping out constant updates. There's a new TCG app, so now you can play that on your iPhone. And that's just in the last 20-ish months. For comparison, when we got Pokemon Red and Blue in September of 98, Gold and Silver didn't come out until October of 2000. Basically 2 years later. And then Ruby and Sapphire came March of 03. Over 2 years, more than 2 years after that. So then, looking at all the content we have now, especially pumped out recently, it's hard not to look at the ratings here and see a 73 out of 100, the lowest ever on a Pokemon game for the main series, besides Emerald, which I'm not sure about that one, and the Let's Go series, which were pretty low, although I like them, and wonder, did it not get a full cycle? Did something go wrong? And so, I think it's time I sit down with this game and answer the question. Is this game any good? Or is this the worst Pokemon ever made? Now, this game begins like any other Pokemon game, creating and naming your character. I do like the hair customization. They're not my favorite character models, but they're not bad. I definitely plan on playing the fashion game later on, but we'll circle back to that. After setting up my character's hairstyle and giving him a name, we are ready to enter the game. Alright, here we go. In this game we find the character in the Paldea region. It's a new region we haven't seen before, and your character is going to be a student at an academy. So a little bit more structured than other games where you just leave your house all willy-nilly on your own. I have the Violet version, so I'll be attending the Yuva Academy. The game begins with Director Claval coming to your house to invite you to your first day. And as always, you will get to pick your starter Pokemon. There's Sprigato, the Grass Cat Pokemon. Frokoko, the only true starter, and the Fire Croc Pokemon. Or there's Daffy Duck. Quaxley, the Duckling Pokemon. And I have been a Gen 1 water starter the whole way through. ever since Squirtle. Always pick the water starter. I cannot remember the last time I picked something other than the water starter. Until now, the little fire croc. It has to be him. There is no other acceptable answer here. If you pick the other Pokemon, you are wrong. He's adorable. If only his evolutions were as cool. You then go and meet your neighbor, who's also a student, but already at the champion rank, named Nimona. She's decided you're going to be rivals. Now, of all the rivals in all the games that I can remember, she might honestly be the best. She's not a total ass like Gary, or sketchy like that guy Silver, or just completely annoying like Bidet, Marin, or the characters of Sun and Moon. This one seems like a fun, healthy competitor. And okay, maybe Wally and Dawn were okay. I probably missed a few in my memory there, but this one seems pretty good. And now you're going to have your first battle. You're basically in the tutorial stage of this game at this point. Unlike the original games, though, you're not starting with just tackle and growl. You actually get a typing move. Thus, Ember and Grass is weak to fire types, so you're going to blow through this battle. This is way easier than the original games, I feel like, just based on how the move pool started. I have very, very specific memories of getting destroyed by Blue in the original game, and then heading up to the first city, taking that road towards the Elite Four, and getting wrecked again. I will say throughout this game, I do not get wrecked by the rival one time, and it does help having a type advantage over their character. The opposite of how games, I feel like, used to be, where your rival would take the strength against you. Now that you know how to battle, though, you're going to get your Pokemon, and you're going to head out and learn to catch other Pokemon. And you're pointed towards your first objective of getting towards the lighthouse. But for me, that means catching everything I can and possibly over-leveling my character a little bit before I get there. So I'm just going to rack up a few Pokedex entries, and then I'll move on with the story. Now, as you head up towards the lighthouse, you're going to hear some strange cries. And as your character goes to check on it, you're going to find that it's actually a strange Pokemon down a cliff face that appears to be injured. So we're going to make our way down to that Pokemon, and you're going to feed it a sandwich, because why wouldn't you give a strange animal a sandwich? I mean, if someone found me when I was injured, I'd like a sandwich. I assume this Pokemon will also enjoy a nice sandwich. Hopefully it's a good one. So you're going to go down and we're going to give this strange Pokemon a sandwich. It's going to eat the sandwich, which will heal it. And as soon as it's healed, it's going to head off into the cave, which appears to be the only exit from this area. And we're going to have to follow it into the cave, because we got to get out too. Kind of looks like it wants us to follow it. Now, in the cave, there's going to be a few low-level Pokemon. I don't think I caught anything in here. I think I just followed this thing all the way through. And eventually, you're going to run into a cutscene where we get surrounded by some Dark-type Pokemon. Now, I think it's Houndour and Houndoom is the evolution. And this Pokemon is going to protect us from this rampage, and in the process, it's going to tire itself out. But we do get out of the cave after being saved and head up to the lighthouse, which is where we've been headed the whole way. At the lighthouse, we meet another character named Arvin, and Arvin appears to be the son of one of the professors, or the professor of the game. And he questions us about having this Pokemon with us, who he calls Miraidon, and will challenge us to a battle. After defeating him in battle, he asks us to keep Miraidon as our Pokemon, and we accept. After getting to the top of the lighthouse, we'll see the school, and at this point, the tutorial's pretty much over. We just have to get to the school, and then we'll be released from this linear part of the gameplay. After leaving the lighthouse, you will have opportunity to catch a few more Pokemon, and there will be an opportunity for a battle or two with a random person who's just hanging about. And then you'll come to the first town and see the Pokestops is Pokemon Go. Pokecenters have changed in this game. Kind of like the more recent games, the shop and the Poke Center are combined into one unit, so you can buy items and heal at the same place. There's also a area here to craft technical mechanics or TMs, so that you can teach your Pokemon new moves. I do like the quality of life upgrade that I no longer need to go through a loading screen by entering a building to get to a Poke Center. It's just accessible like a drive-thru. You just roll up, boom, heal your Pokemon, take care of what you need to do, and you can keep on moving. So, honestly, solid quality of life upgrade. Once you hit the main city, though, and visit the academy, you'll have to take a few classes and talk to a few people, but you're released on your gym challenge. Now, you can go out and do the gym challenge however you like. It's a traditional, like all the other games, 8 gyms with an Elite Four at the end. This game also has another challenge where there's Team Star crew challenges, and there's 5 bosses running 5 crews around the entire map. And that feels like that's the bad guy storyline for this game. And then there's also these beasts you need to investigate. Once you're in the open world, though, you'll also find these terror raid battles, which you can attempt with a randomized computer ally or online with others. These give rewards which can be used to make money, acquire rare items, to make the sandwiches in the game, and we'll get to that later. And you can also get items to level up Pokemon, rare candies, experience tokens, basically. Early game, I'll hit a few raids just to get Pokedex entries, but this feels more like a late game kind of content to me, honestly, so I'll circle back to this in the end, and we'll get back to the story. Once I was released to the world, I started looking at the gyms, and I thought the first gym I should go after is the Bug Gym, since I took the Fire Starter. Easy gym, seems like I have a type advantage. Once I get there and have a talk with my rival, we learn that each gym has a trial or some kind of mini-game test before you can take on the leader. A slight deviation from the battling your way through all the gym trainers or doing some sort of puzzle within the gym, you get to go out and actually take a little test or mini-game. And this first gym, the Bug one, has kind of a Rocket League kind of game where you have to get the ball from point A to point B. And there are trainers you can use to battle, and they'll create shortcuts if you beat them in that area. And I think I take down one trainer, but mostly I just kind of shoot through the area here. Once you complete the trial and return to the gym, you'll announce that you're ready for battle. And this one was not hard. My little fire buddy had already evolved once, and I just shredded these bug types. Eventually you reach the leader's last Pokemon, which I find is not a bug type, though it uses this game's gimmick, Test-Rise. It's this game's version of a Mega Evolution or whatever it was from Sword and Shield. It changes the typing. I'm not sure if it makes it any stronger or not, but it makes this Teddiursa into a bug type. I stole a fire type, so I just shred it. This gym's defeated. 1 down, 7 to go. So far, not too different from the normal setup of these games, although the gym challenge was a nice twist. You'll also find in this game there are no mandatory trainer battles. So like I said earlier, I ran into 2 trainers on the route. No one in the wild will combat you unless you specifically go and talk to them. It's totally up to you. They're just standing there. You can walk circles around them. They're not going to run out of their way to stop you like they do in other games. Now, there are rewards you can collect near Poke Centers throughout the game from a league official if you win a certain number of trainer battles in a given area. But those are rewards that you have to decide if it's worth it to you or not. You can make your own decision if you want to go your way and do these trainer battles, or if you just want to go after random Pokemon on your trip. I quickly head over to the second gym. It was pretty easy to decide which was next. It's a grass gym. So let's just copy and paste everything I said about the Bug Gym, since they're all weak to fire types. And the test here is a game of hide and seek where you find 10 sunflower hidden throughout the town. It's kind of fun and enjoyable. It was pretty easy, so smooth sailing here. They used Sudowoodo as their last Pokemon, knocked it out pretty easy, and now Pokemon up to level 30 will listen to me. That's actually something else to touch on. In previous games, if you traded for a Pokemon over, or a Pokemon over leveled, it would stop listening to you until the correct badge was acquired. Now, in this game, if I catch a Pokemon that's under my current level cap, it'll always listen to me no matter how far I level it up. But if I trade it, even a touch trade to evolve it, it must stay under that level cap. Or if I catch it over the level cap, it won't listen if I don't have the appropriate badge. So that's just something to keep in mind, a little different game to game. After this gym, I did also come across my first shiny Pokemon. If you're not familiar with shiny Pokemon, it's the exact same as normal Pokemon, just with a different color scheme. Doesn't change how it interacts with the game at all, just looks different. In this game, the base rate I believe is 1 in 4,000 odds to find a shiny, and that can be boosted via a shiny charm by catching every Pokemon in the Pokedex. It can be increased doing mass outbreaks by defeating 30 to 60 Pokemon or catching them within the mass outbreak to increase your odds, or with certain kinds of sandwiches. You can mix ingredients to create something that will boost shiny odds. The shiny hunting is a whole thing that's fun in its own right and a different way to play within the game. It's not what I'm focusing on this one. The last thing I'll really say on the subject is I've hunted a full living shiny dex in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. It took me hundreds of hours. And I don't think that's something I'll ever do again in any other game unless there was another Let's Go game. I believe that Let's Go has the best shiny hunting system that I've ever encountered in a game or had the most fun with. Legends Arceus was also fun, but I kind of got a few shinies and moved on. This game system doesn't seem bad. It's just not better than the others that I've encountered. I did not like that. If I did not see the golden Magikarp and know what it looked like, I would have walked right by it. There may have been others I've walked by in this game. They don't stand out to me. They don't have that sparkle that Let's Go did or the sounds of Arceus. So I've caught the Magikarp. I've added Magikarp to my party. The red Gyarados will stay with me forever. If shiny hunting is your thing, there are other people out there shiny hunting. I'm going to keep moving on with the game, though. I had a strong electric type at this point, so I thought I'd head down to the water gym. This trial is to return a lost wallet. So I head out across the desert to another city to find the gym leader, and he runs away. So I get down into the market, and of course his assistant wants to battle me to see if I'm worth his time. Okay, fish boy, time for some lightning. After I give the man back his wallet, he asks me to go into the market and win an auction for him. I have no strategy going into this. I'm not sure if the game lets me win no matter what, or if there's scenarios where I lose and have to try again. It kind of seems like passing on the first bet was the move, and I won it fair and square. He does offer me any excess change. I don't really have any, if I remember, maybe just a little bit as a reward. But that's it. Gym test completed. Now it's time to head back to battle the gym. Now I do take a detour to train up a bit, which is good because when I get to the gym I'm surprised by my rival, who has come to the gym for a quick battle before I get in there. She does actually take down a few of my team at this point, but I've over-leveled my starter. So by the time we get to her grass-type main Pokemon, it's no match, and I take her down. It's time for the gym now. I actually like this so far. The gym leaders seem to be out in the community living a life, not just waiting for me to show up and battle them. It kind of reminds me of the original anime. Brock was raising a family, the Cerulean City Gym was putting on shows, the Grass Gym ran a perfume company. I mean, they're not just standing there waiting in one spot for my challenge, like they have been in so many games in the past. Alas, getting to this one, his first Pokemon knows a ground-type move. I wasn't ready for that. My electric type goes down. I end up having to use a revive and a potion to bring it back to finish the fight, but by the time I get to his final Pokemon, it's clinging for life again. I switch to my starter. I hope a ghost type attack saves me, but good, it does. And now with 3 badges, Pokemon up to level 35 will listen to me, and with that it's time to figure out which city I'm going to next. 3 down, 5 to go. I head to the Electric Gym after bypassing the Team Star Fire Crew base. There's a way to jump over these ravines that I haven't unlocked yet, so I encounter Pokemon in the little river at an angle that glitches my character to the other side, so when I run away from the Pokemon, I'm now on the other side of the river. I don't understand why I can't just swim in these games. We find out the leader for the Electric Gym is a streamer and wants help on their stream before the battle. This one does include a few battles though, so I use my Donphin and hope its ground moves will be enough to get through the gym. This battle begins with an interview with the gym leader, and honestly, this is fun. There's a little mini game beforehand that involves finding this guy from the academy, and then you get to battle a few trainers, and then after that you get to have your little interview with the streamer. I mean, definitely more fun than just walking up and having 1 or 2 lines of dialogue in Gen 1. Look how far we've come. Turns out Donphin is strong enough, and that's 4 badges down. This game is really not super hard as long as I pick a type advantage in every gym. I haven't super overleveled my team, although my starter is starting to become overleveled because it's constantly gaining experience in my party. But I keep trying to pick different Pokemon to take on these gyms. That's not going to be a trend that finishes the game out, but at least the middle section, it feels, I don't know, fun. Not hard, but fun. Before I get to the next gym, I think it's time I do look at the other challenges included in this game, though. I haven't gotten to any of these Team Star bases yet, and in fact I've gone out of my way to skip 2 of them, just to focus on the main storyline because that's what I'm comfortable with. So I think it's time I stop and go see what these are all about. I honestly came to expect just another gym knockoff, kind of like that weird fighting dojo in Gen 1. And that's really not what this is. There seems to be a pretty good story here. After a quick battle with a grunt, you have a meeting with Clive, who's Director Clavel in disguise, right? I mean, that's 100% who it is. And then there's a call from Cassiopeia, and Clive has agreed to help us inform on these bases, and once you're inside, he agrees to help you once you start this little mini-game. And Cassiopeia is the one in charge of taking these down. That's who's running this operation. And then once you're inside, you find a mini-game where the top 3 Pokemon in your party become your team for this event. And you can use the Let's Go feature, which is the one where you can just send something out using the right bumper button to take down what's in front of you. And then you head back to the front if you need to heal. You have 10 minutes to take down 30. Now, I've never had to heal through this challenge. It seems, once again, the type advantage just takes care of that for me. And at the end of the base, you get to battle the leader. The leaders have a set of Pokemon, but then they also battle you with their giant car, which is interesting. Wish you could catch the car. After the battle, there's a flashback to how Team Star came to be. I didn't learn much in this one, but it seems like a pretty fresh crew. Honestly, it's not Team Rocket, super evil, try to steal the Pokemon type of thing. More just seems like a crew of kids that got lost. Like they had good intentions and ended up in a bad spot. At the very end, there's a call from Cassiopeia, and Penny comes to give you some materials for taking down the crew boss there. Overall, I'd say this was an enjoyable addition. After the Team Star encounter, I head over to the Psychic Gym, and on my way there, I found this pathway with these Gen 1 sprites. And this adds nothing to the game other than I love this. I don't know how lore-wise this matches up, unless these are like ancient depictions of the Pokemon or something, or they're just acknowledging that Gen 1 exists. But yeah, those are awesome. This challenge involved working for a professor from the academy who had lost a bet with the gym leader over a battle and now has to run a fitness class to get people ready for the challenge. Okay, the story behind it is actually hilarious. It's able to tie in other characters from the story, tie in their interactions off camera, make the world feel more complete. I'm all about it. In concept, though, this game is basically a very basic Simon Says, where you just press the right button. It went on for about 2 rounds too long. I would have appreciated just the 1 round in the battles, but, well, it overstayed its welcome in my mind. Sorry, little fitness game. Once you meet the gym leader, though, you find that the challenge leader was much more fun. This leader seems more focused on running her company or her acting career or whatever it is she's doing that's, not being bothered with battling you. But I guess with all the crazy personalities and all the other leaders being so involved in their lives outside of the gym, there has to be one that just doesn't super care about you at all. I trained up a fairy type with steel type moves just for this, so I can rip through her team. After the battle with the gym leader, the Elite Four champion comes and shows up with her rival for another quick battle. It's time to put her team down again. All in all, I'd say this is a solid stop. Before I hit the next gym, I decided to clear a Team Star base again. My team's pretty well set up at this point, especially to clear a dark base, so there's no changes needed, and I head right in. This team knows I'm coming after taking down the first base, but the Grunt's still no match, and neither are the Pokemon inside the base, and neither really is the boss, for that matter. We get another flashback, and we find out that this crew boss used to be the president of the student council. Because of this, the other members of the team have this crew boss write up their code or their book of rules or ethics. They just refer to it as the code to follow. After we get the flashback clip, Clive comes to talk to the Star Boss that we just defeated, and we go have another interaction with Penny so we get our attaboy for taking down the base. Once I've taken down 2 of the Team Star crews, I decided it's time to get back to the gym challenge, and I head down to take down the normal gym. I came into this expecting a very boring battle, as normal gyms are. There's just that one really hard one from Gold and Silver where they have the milk tank that just destroys you. So you don't really know what you're going to get, but you're not looking forward to it. This challenge involves going into town to find 3 other challengers who've all been given a secret, and you have to combine all 4 secrets so you can order the perfect secret menu item from a restaurant. Honestly, this is one of the more fun challenges. It took me more than one try to figure it out. I actually had to leave the restaurant to go try and look at the clues a few times to come back and figure it out, because I didn't want to just Google it. It didn't seem like the right thing to do. And once you figure out the secret to get to the combat, you're introduced to the greatest gym trainer ever, Larry. This guy is a straight up mood. Does he want to battle you? No. Does he want to be a gym leader? No. Heck, does this guy even want to be at work today? No. But he's got bills to pay. Heck, I am this guy. This isn't just the best normal type gym leader I've ever seen. This is the best gym leader I've ever seen. Seriously, give me an entire anime about Larry, and I'd watch it forever. Larry did what his boss asked of him. I mean, he still goes down pretty easy. I hate to do it to the man, it's his job, but my fighting type Tauros is just no match for him. Once again, just pick a type advantage Pokemon, and the battle is, a breeze. That's 6 gyms down, 2 to go. Larry picked up the tab for lunch. Thanks, Larry. With only 2 gyms left, I head off to the Ice-type gym first. The last 2 that I have left are pretty close together, and they should be pretty easy with the same starter Pokemon, Ice and Ghost. Before the Ice battle, you get another battle with your rival. It goes exactly the same as all the others have. Time for the gym test. This gym leader is a former snowboarder whose career ended due to an injury. And this test involves doing a snowboard-style slalom run down a mountain. It's not hard, but it's fun. At least do it one time. I wouldn't want to do it more than once. I'm glad it was just the one run and you jumped in. Time for the gym battle. At this point, my fire starter is almost starting to feel like a cheat code. 4 of the 8 gyms had a weakness to fire. I can just throw any fire move at it and wreck them. So my little croc boy does his job well. After taking down the ice gym, I immediately head around the corner to the ghost gym. The gym leader is a rapper, and the challenge is to pump up the crowd via a few battles for the opening act. These do change the formula by being double battles, but they are all ghost types. So with my fire starter and my water type, the shiny Gyarados I grabbed earlier, this is not hard. After pumping up the crowd, Rhyme takes the stage to rap so I can heal up my Pokemon. I return at the end of a rap battle and jump into our own battle. Again, I have a huge type advantage. That's 8 gyms now. Normally in these games I'd be running off to the Pokemon League, finish the game, maybe go take down a legendary and call it good. But I feel like these other storylines kind of need to be wrapped up first. Alright, let's go figure out what I need to do next. I'll start off by going to find the Stone Cliff Titan. I should have done this 7 batches ago. I'm just way over leveled for this battle at this point, and honestly too bothered to go pick something that's like level 13 and fight it out. After I track it down and one-shot it in battle, it retreats. I have to hunt it down again, and ends up going into a cave and eating an herb and becoming, quote, super powered, unquote. Honestly, I don't know if it gets that much stronger because I'm just stupid over leveled at this point. After winning the battle with Arven's quote unquote help, I head into the cave and discover the Herb of Mystica. Now, this is something you can actually hunt in the highest levels of those raid dens I talked about earlier, once you've reached the post-game, post-Elite Four, I guess, these missions. I can't get to 5-star raid dens yet at this point. These herbs are used to make superpowered sandwiches to hunt Pokemon and shinies. And then you get the option to head in the sandwich to Miraidon. Miraidon? Miraidon? Still don't know. And that's when I realized how badly I messed up. This gives my ride Pokemon a new power. It can now Power Dash. I now need to take down the rest of these Titans. I think I made the game harder on myself by not doing this sooner, and left myself locked out of visiting certain areas. Alright, let's get these done. I quickly go knock out the Quaking Earth Titan, Open Sky Titan, and Lurking Steel Titan, unlocking the ride Pokemon's ability to jump higher, fly, and swim. I can now traverse pretty much the entire map. While doing so, we get some backstory on Arven, also on his good boy, the Pokemon Mastiff. His dog Pokemon got hurt trying to find his dad down in Area 0, and he hasn't seen his dad in years. This whole quest to find the herbs is to heal his good doggo, so that he can play with him again, because his dog is his only and best friend / family member. Okay, I like his story arc now. I found him super annoying, almost entitled because of who his dad was, maybe angry. But there's nothing I wouldn't go do for my dog. So, he's come around in my book. Honestly, yeah. When he told us that he was just there to save his dog, I got a little bit emotional. Before I go take on the last Titan, I'm going to finish off these Team Star bases. At the Points base, once again, you team up with Clive. He goes to talk to the student up front who's loyal to Team Star, even though they aren't even a member. By this point, I'm just very over-leveled for this event. I run through the mini-game, take down the leader. In the flashback, we see that this member helped make the costumes for the other members of the crew, so they can fit in more with their respective roles. Turns out Team Star began because there was a large bullying program at the Yuva Academy. Well, bullying problem, I guess. Why would I say program? It's a bullying problem. After Team Star formed, they chased all the bullies out of the school so that the students could attend without any fear. This seems like something that started with good intentions and just spiraled wildly out of control. There's a brief meeting between Penny at the end of this chapter, and it's complete. Time for the next base. At the fighting crew base, we find that the leader of the crew is up front, and a grunt tells her to go inside and protect herself, basically. I'm going to assume that this is the enforcer of the Team Star crew bosses. After Cassiopeia's phone call, at this point, I'm also starting to think she knows more than she's letting on. Cassiopeia is either a professor at the school who's trying to end this, or in fact, in charge of this whole thing and trying to take it down for some reason or another. Either way, it's a little bit sketchy. I go through the fighting crew base and take down the leader. In the flashback, we see them training to strengthen up before forming to take on their bullies, or right after forming. They also have created their own badges to make their crews feel more authentic and like their own gems. The girl who's at the front gate was actually the bully who put down this team's leader prior to Team Star forming. Once they formed Team Star, they didn't run her out of school. She joined Team Star. Again, this seems like it had good intentions gone wrong. I meet with Penny again, and honestly, I didn't think of it a minute ago, but maybe she could be Cassiopeia. She seems kind of sketchy too. With that done, I went looking for the last Titan, the False Dragon Titan. This actually took me way longer to find than all the others. I eventually figured out you have to go talk to this little fish thing on the island to make it reveal itself. Also, I tried to pick a strong type advantage, and for the first time in a while I don't feel over-leveled. After taking this one down, and a little bit longer chase scene than I was planning for, it turns out this one's actually 3 battles instead of 2. But it still goes down. This is the last Herba Mystica, so Arven's good boy is now fully healed, and my ride Pokemon learns how to climb mountains, unlocking the entire map. After this battle, Arven is asked to meet his dad at the lighthouse, which doubles as his dad's lab. And we're called by his dad to come find him at the end of Area 0. After a battle with Arven, we decide we need stronger trainers to get down there. Looks like it's time to finish out the Team Star storyline and the Pokemon League before heading down to Area 0. That seems like this is going to end up being the end game for this. With that said, I head off to the last Team Star base, which is a ferry crew. I don't even change my team at this point. I'm just kind of ready to finish this Team Star storyline. While the story is interesting in the background, doing the exact same thing 5 times in a row, just with a different type of Pokemon to fight, has gotten pretty stale. I get that's ironic to say to it for a game that is literally almost the same every time. But unlike the gym challenge, this has kind of gotten old after about 3 of them. The challenge didn't change at all. After a battle with the leader, it's revealed that this is the leader that built the Team Star cars for the bosses, and that their code of ethics states that any bosses they're defeated have to step down, thus ending that crew. So Cassiopeia definitely feels like an insider here who's using their code of ethics against them. After that, we have a meeting with the old director of the academy and Clive, and learn that there was an inside job to cover up the existence of Team Star within the academy. Also, it looks like they covered up the exodus of all the bullies. After that, we have a call with Cassiopeia, about how we have to take down the big boss, and they reveal themselves, or how they'll reveal themselves. And Clive shows up instead of Penny. Well, it's kind of weird. My other thought on this is we just had that student who was the bully join Team Star at the last base. I wonder if all the bullies ended up just joining Team Star, and that's where they disappeared to. I don't know. I don't know if that question will ever be answered. After a red herring battle with Clive, who's actually Director Claval, who's pretending to be Cassiopeia, but isn't really Cassiopeia. We learn Cassiopeia wants to meet us at night inside the Yuva Academy at the battlefield. I head up to meet her. Big reveal time. It's actually Penny. Penny has a full team of Eevee evolutions, and after the battle, we see that Penny is trying to take the fall for Team Star in hopes that the others can return to school without punishment. Director Claval's come up with a punishment, though. While following us around as Clive, he realizes that this isn't as bad as it seems, and he ends up asking the students to just stay on with some community service. And that community service will be to make Team Star part of the academy, with the students performing community service at their bases to train other students while returning to their studies. This seems fair to everyone and puts a nice bow on the story. And with that, we can count on Penny to join us in Area Zero, now to take on the Pokemon League, so that our rival will also join us. Now that I've taken down all 8 gyms, all 5 Team Star crew bases, and all 5 of the Titan Pokemon, it's time to take on the Pokemon League. There's no rival battle outside the league like I was expecting, but there's this quiz you have to take when you go inside, and it's not super easy. I failed it the first time. Turns out, I didn't pay attention to the names of any of the gym leaders, or really any of the cities I visited as I ran through this open world game. I guess I should have immersed myself more. Once I did some soul searching, I was able to find the name of a gym leader and match him with the city and get through the test. Now, I've met a few of these Elite Four members as the story's gone on, and the champion, and honestly, not super vested in them. I also didn't even look at what type of Pokemon they're using. I'm just hoping my team's diverse enough to try to make it happen first try. And as it stands, I think it is. Then the third leader shows up. This is the best Elite Four member ever. The man, the myth, the legend. He has so many bills to pay, he not only works as a gym leader, he's an Elite Four member. Also, this kind of drives home to the point that these people aren't just here for fun. There's some sort of employment structure here to being a gym leader, and it involves money. Also, he doesn't get to use normal Pokemon like he wants. His boss chooses his Pokemon. Man, how did gym leaders in previous gens get so perfectly typecast then, I wonder? What happens to someone who applies who doesn't look like the perfect trainer for a certain type of Pokemon? Was Bruno forced to work out and sit out there shirtless? Was Agatha even her real name? And poor Lorelei, if she didn't actually like ice, she's living a miserable existence there. Okay, back to this gen. Yeah, the Elite Four is not hard in this game. After taking down the Elite Four, like with every other Pokemon game, you have to go take on the champion. I head up to the roof and take on the champion. I have to use a few items this time, but overall it is not a hard challenge. And at the end, we meet our rival up front, who tries to challenge us to a battle. The champion says, no, let's push this off till later. Which is really nice, because usually I think the Elite Four just makes you battle your rival right then, without even healing you. So, Thank you, game. Thank you for not making me do that. And, roll credits, I guess. Nah, I'm just kidding. The last part of the story involves going down to Area Zero. There are some cool future Pokemon in my version, which are mostly mashups of machine versions of current Pokemon or two Pokemon kind of fused together. On the way to the bottom, you pick up some more story about Arvin and his upbringing and the professor. And I'm more convinced that the dad's just going to be stuck in the future or something weird's going to go on here. On the way down, you have to stop at the research centers, and each one unlocks part of the door for the center at the very bottom of this crater. And I start getting the feeling that unlocking these doors is a bad plan. By the time we get down to the professor, I'm almost wishing there was more story here. I feel like I hardly know what happened, except that we need to turn this thing off. It might be a time machine. I did like how the professor, the robot professor, shows us that he's learned more than the professor by wanting to turn this machine off, but he also knows his programming will turn against us. And it does. This battle is honestly the only hard one I really experienced in this game, mostly because I don't know the typing of these Pokemon. I didn't look it up beforehand, I just kind of went in and did my best. And because I didn't recognize their names or really know what was going on, they just kind of, I almost think I lost it. And that would have been unfortunate. By the time I get to the battle with my Rhydon, it's almost welcome because I feel like this is one that you just can't lose, set up to win. And that's it. After this, the game's over. There's some replayability here. You can go challenge gym leaders again. And then there's just a little bit of cleanup of finishing the Pokedex. And some legendaries. So when all that's left is to complete the Pokedex, and then these legendaries. And the legendaries involve running around and picking up these ominous stakes to release them. There are 8 for each legendary in the world. And once you collect them, you can release them from their enclosure and go capture them. I would just Google where they are. If you just look for them forever, it's going to take you hours. I mean, you can if you want to. It wasn't really something I was focused on. And then there's catching everything in the map. And you'll need the other version to do that. Luckily, through the raid dens and the surprise trades, it's a little easier than I thought it was going to be. There are still a few you'll have to coordinate either with a friend who owns the game, having a second copy yourself, or through the internet, which Reddit has trade forums, makes it super easy. But unless you're trying to get the shiny charm, completing the Pokedex is like every game in the series is just for fun. So, it doesn't have to be something that's speed run. You can just take your time, get to it when you get to it. And honestly, I had fun trying to breed some stuff and then threw it into the surprise trade and saw what came out. And yeah, I'm kind of running out of things to say on this game, in all honesty. Then there are the raid dens I touched on earlier in this video. Going into them on the internet is kind of like being in the Wild West. The thing is, to not hose everyone you're in there with, you need to build a Pokemon for this. And I've never built a Pokemon specifically for endgame ever before. I've never done IVs or EVs, so there was a little bit of learning here. I heard Iron Hands is a good one for this, so that was my first focus. I used bottle caps to max out the health, attack, and defense IVs. Then I hyper-trained the EVs. I maxed out the IVs and hyper-trained the EVs. And then I got a herb to change its nature to get the best bonuses on its attack. And then I gave it an item that people told me would be good for it to hold. The strategy for this is to use Belly Drum, which lowers its health, to boost its attack. Then use Drain Punch to get the health back. And then you either close combat, or you can use the move Charge, which is an electric type move against certain Pokemon. And from what I understand, Iron Hands works in almost every raid that's out there. And then once you've built up by your hands and doing raids. You can use the items in that you've acquired to purchase stuff to build up other Pokemon. But if you go into these online raids and your allies are just throwing in their untrained starter Pokemon, there's a good chance you're going to get wrecked. Now, after playing this game for over 100 hours, this is where I'm at. The story, the gym challenge, the exploration on the front end of this game, it's one of my favorites. I'd say the first 60 hours of this game was some of the most enjoyable I've had in a Pokemon game. I give this a B+. Somewhere in the high to mid 80s as a rating if I was to put a number on it. Have I played better games? Yeah. Have I played worse games? Definitely. I can think of a few Pokemon games alone off the top of my head that I would put well below this game. As far as story, I'm not sure if there's any that are better. But again, it's a Pokemon story, so it left me lacking in some areas where I wish there was more, or I wish things had been done differently. Parts of the storyline, like the crew battles with Team Star, just kind of dragged on for me. And I wish I could have gotten the story elements without having to do the same minigame 5 times in a row. This game also felt very easy to me. As far as actual gameplay, I don't remember. Maybe I'm rose-colored glasses. I remember other games just being a challenge. Maybe it's because I was younger when I played them, or because I didn't put as much thought into it. But as soon as I picked a type advantage, I feel like I just blew through all combat in this game. Maybe that's just Pokemon in general, though. As far as going out and catching, exploring, and encountering everything in the game, coming off of Legends Arceus, I don't know what I expected. It was good, but Legends Arceus just had that exploration level where I felt like I was just out there in the wild doing whatever I wanted. This one felt like it brought me back a little bit more to structure. It was still good, though. Still better than wandering through grass hoping for an encounter. I'd give it a low B, maybe an 80 on the score for that. Then there's the post-game. Legendaries and shiny hunting have been a thing in post-games for Pokemon forever. Then there's raids and competitive battling. And honestly, this is where the game's going to end up like Sword and Shield for me. On a shelf collecting dust. I don't care about competitive battling. Like I said, until I built up a Pokemon to try a few of these raids, I'd never built a Pokemon before. And then I forced myself to do some of these raids, and they're just not... I mean, it's fun, but I hate having to rely on people from the internet. I just don't have enough friends with the game that have beaten it to go in with friends. Or friends that have time, especially, with work and families, like, to sit down with 3 other people and jump to a raid, it's probably just not happening. And since most of these raids can't be beaten with the computer allies you're given, it just feels like dead content to me. and when I do get into a team, I'm not sure if I'm going to waste 5 minutes or not with the team. So, Maybe I'll come back in a few weeks and try it again, though. I probably just burned myself out here at the end, trying to build a team and do a little bit too much with the Pokedex. Overall, is the game a dumpster fire? No. Do the graphics get a little glitchy at times? Yes, and that seems to be the major complaint I saw before starting this game. But there's a reason I haven't mentioned it till here. I don't play Pokemon for the frame rate. I don't play for amazing graphics. I play because of the nostalgia and the fun. And is this game both nostalgic and fun? Yes. Is it worth $60? Yes. But is it also time to go play something else for a little bit? Yeah, I think it is. I don't know. Maybe I'll circle back to this in a few weeks. But for now, I think it's time for a break. Enjoy catching if you're still playing. And until then, catch you next time.